is the first immigration to Abyssinia. The first immigration to Abyssinia. When these tactics of open intimidation, of humiliation, of torture continued, the Prophet ﷺ eventually suggested to the Sahaba that this land has become too constricted for you. Why don't you emigrate? For those of you who want to, why don't you emigrate to the neighboring land of Abyssinia? For there is a Christian king there who is a just king, and he shall allow you to worship without interfering in your worship. And this announcement was made in Rajab, in the 5th year of the da'wah. So, the 3rd year of the da'wah, he goes public. Less than a year and a half later, so you can imagine now, all of this torture we're talking about is happening in this year and a half. All of this hardship is happening in this year and a half. It gets so difficult in Rajab of the 5th year of the da'wah. This is still 6 BH, 6 before Hijrah. Don't get confused, don't think 5 AH. No, this is 5 after da'wah, which is not anything in our calendar. So we say 6 before Hijrah, because we have, or actually 7 before Hijrah, because the Hijrah is in the 12th/13th year of the da'wah. Right? You guys following this, right? 13 years in Mecca, or to be more precise, 12 years and some months in Mecca. And so this is around 7 BH, you can say, before the Hijrah. So, in the 5th year of the da'wah, in the month of Rajab, the Prophet ﷺ allows the Sahaba to emigrate to Abyssinia. Now, for most of us, dare I say all of us in this room, we will not understand what hardships this would mean to emigrate to a new land. Especially us here in America, we are so used to traveling from city to city and place to place. Most of us in this room, most of us have lived in multiple cities in our lives. I myself have lived in 4 or 5 cities for years at times. And it's natural to us because the world has changed immensely from in this time. So we don't understand that uprooting yourself from, even 100 years ago, the bulk of mankind, I think the estimate I read it somewhere was 90-something%. They were born and they lived and they died within 20 miles of the radius of where they were born, of their father's house. This is the bulk of mankind. That's just the way it is. You take over what your father is doing and you live the local land and you go on. And in Jahili Makkah, it was much more worse than this. You couldn't even emigrate to another city because, as we said, the whole concept of tribalism. As a Qurashi, you had to be linked to Mecca. That was your only way of survival. If you went to even Ta'if or Medina, the people there are not of your tribe. And you are 2nd, 3rd class. You don't have any izzah. You can be plundered, raped, looted. Anything could happen. Nobody's going to protect you. Because there is no government, there is no law, there is no society, there is no civilization. This is even within Arabia. Imagine going to a foreign land. On top of that, you don't have bank transfers. You're not going to take your wealth and then, wire it to the different land. No. Your property is your property. You can't sell it at market price because you're not telling anybody you're leaving. People are just going to take over it. When they performed the actual Hijrah to Medina, the Sahaba suffered a huge financial loss. Even Sahaba who were rich became poor in the migration because they couldn't take their money with them. It's too dangerous to carry your gold and silver with you. You cannot just carry it in an unarmed guard fleeing for your life and property from Mecca. And so when you're making Hijrah, what you're doing is you are entering into a strange world where you don't have honor, you don't have protection, you don't have a passport basically. And you are at the mercy of those around you. To make matters worse, they have been told to go to a land where you're not even speaking Arabic, where the people are not Arabs. It's a different culture. It's a land in Africa, in modern day Abyssinia, Habasha, where the culture, the people, everything is different. So this underscores how difficult Mecca would have been for them to prefer going to Abyssinia over remaining in Mecca.